validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa, I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. We have, ooh, look at this. We off to the side. We don't come over here a little bit. Well, sometimes I'm off to the side anyway. Either way. All right, good. We are on our Wednesday. I had to sit there and think about it. Wednesday night show. Tonight we're going to be talking about 5 unusual investments that may power your life in France if you were trying to go and live in France. So give us a little bit of time to go through all of that. Probably be about an hour and a half, maybe two, depending on the conversations that we have tonight. Here on This and That, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. We do not let the sun rise without going live, but we don't always start on time, and that's why we ask you guys to like and subscribe, and then mash those reaction buttons while you're here. Hit the notification buttons, and potentially go and look at the membership to see what's going on in the membership, because we have a lot of releases going on right now. Special shout out to those of you that are still watching us on TikTok. We're still working on a stream feed. We have not gotten feedback yet from the admins about it, but we're still working on that. So we're in 2 different places right now, 3 different places, because we have Twitch and YouTube on one side of things and TikTok on a separate scenario. So we're trying to integrate TikTok into the live podcast. We go live 7 nights a week, and by going live 7 nights a week, we have different topics every night of the week. Where we start with Sundays is questions and comments from the fans. Uh, he says you look like a lawyer who does jazz in smoky halls on Sunday evenings. Okay, I don't know how to feel about that, but at least I look like a lawyer. Um, that's not pertaining to today's topic because today we're talking about living and investing in France. So I'm going to ask that when you do come to the show, that you stay on topic, whatever the topic is. Oh, it's a compliment. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. But I know you guys get the prompts at least on YouTube to stay on topic with the topic at hand and keep the comments appropriate and respectful for the other people in the podcast. So we talk about different topics every night of the week. Sundays, questions and comments from the fans, questions that you have about how to fix the things that you've got going on, and I try to provide you guys with answers for that. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday is business and politics, where Monday we talk about how politics negatively impacts your ability to make, save, and invest money. Um, Tuesdays we talk about different ways to make money, save money, invest money, and budget money. Where this past Tuesday, we were what were we talking about yesterday? Um, I remember we had some discussions about the IRS. We were talking about 401ks. This week we talked about the new currencies, the commemorative currencies that were being produced. There was a lot of things that we talk about over the past week as far as those making and saving and investing and budgeting money. And we also try to provide you guys with different ways to think about your money because your mindset impacts your decision making, and your decision making costs you money, whether it's decision making in your personal life about buying something for yourself or somebody else, or if it's a decision for your professional life, investing in something or acquiring a new item, whether it is something for leisure or luxury, well, leisure and luxury, or if it's something for a profit, we have to change the way we think about things because a lot of the times, if you make enough money for your standard of living, but you spend the money faster than it comes in because it would be more convenient to get it now while the item's on sale, or it's more convenient to get it now while you're looking at the item. The fact is that if you spend more money inside of any one pay period than you have accessible to you, you have bills that start coming up that are priorities where your option could have been delayed until after all the bills got paid. Now, I try to tell you guys that, it's not always your failure as a person, but you do have to restructure how you do things and then try to allocate some money in certain places to aid you in your ability to be more successful. After that, we have Wednesdays, which is the day we talk about different countries around the world to invest in. And that's what we're going to be doing today. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we're going to be giving you guys information on social uh, discussions like self-development, self-improvement, relationship topics. I was trying to say socializations, negotiations, building your brand, raises, promotions, retirement, forced retirement, severance packages, termination, and then talking to you guys about your 20 and 30-year plan. So this is what we do throughout the week. And we do this in order to make sure that you guys have as much information as you need to build up your professional life, but then be able to reassess and rework out your personal life so that your personal life can um, be a lot better and more fiscally effective for your objectives. Now, we haven't had a lot of updates. Like I was telling you guys as the show started, we were telling you guys about how we're still working on that stream key. So we don't quite have it yet, but we're almost there, I think. Maybe within another week or two, depending upon how this particular platform operates. So I've been tagging a lot of stuff and I've been doubling back and following up and trying to see like how do we get these things together. And as soon as it works out for us, that's when I'll be able to um, uh, touch base with you guys and have everybody in one spot at the same time. So moving on to today's topic, I know that many videos about living in France suggest one of two paths. either saving every penny that you can and living off of baguettes and cheap wine to scrape by, or being in Olarch buying up vineyards in Bordeaux. There appears to be no middle ground on that. When the message seems to be clear, to live in France, one must either have a trust fund or live like a monk. Now, the guide is for us to show you both of the extremes and show the flaws in both of these fundamental bases. Because it is possible to live on $3,000 a month in France comfortably with travel and enjoyment. It is achieved not by being obsessively frugal, but by breaking the number one rule of traditional expat financial advice. The secret isn't about pinching pennies or finding some magical undiscovered cheap town. It's about an unorthodox investment. And that investment strategy is one that many financial advisors might caution against, especially for expats. It's a strategy that can power an entire lifestyle there. And it is what makes the dream of a real vibrant life in France possible, not just survivable. Now, this is not going to be a story from a financial guru or a YouTube celebrity. Well, not yet, at least, because YouTube don't know who I am. But it will be a blueprint uh, for a different way to do things, and it's going to be a way to disconnect a physical location from its income source, and in doing so, unlock a quality of life that many might not have thought possible on such a budget. This is going to be an unorthodox guide to make it work. So you guys got to really think about this as you go in there. He says, how long have you been live? 12 minutes and 35 seconds. He said it didn't show the red live button, your channel bash today, and also no notification. Ah, check your updates on your phone. Make sure that your YouTube app is updated. Check your system updates on your phone and make sure that your software on your cell phone is updated. Because ironically, your Google Chrome app on your phone could be, if that's where it comes from, it could be not. It could be backed up with failed updates because you got an iPhone. It doesn't always automatically update. You might have to manually select to update certain things. Go to the iStore and check the apps like the YouTube app and make sure that it is up to date. But your system preferences, you go in there and I think like about device or check system updates. You go somewhere in your settings and check to make sure that your cell phone is up to date. Then we have to just understand that YouTube does have, um, for some wild reason, updates that they don't tell us about that negatively impacts the performance. There's a bug or a glitch in the system. And after enough people are like, hey, YouTube isn't working the way it's supposed to work, then we get this mass email that says, oh, we know and we're working on it. Um, but yeah, the show has only been live for less than 15 minutes, so you did not miss anything outside of the intro music. No updates have happened yet. And if anything, we really just told you guys that we're waiting on a stream key from TikTok so that we can have TikTok's conversations integrated into the live channel. Um, and I was just about to explain to everybody about. So we were just about to get started when you asked that question. What we're going to be doing with we're talking about France today, right? So you haven't missed anything yet. um, yeah, and the majority of the shows have been scheduled for probably 3 or 4 weeks now. We've got all of the shows scheduled, not all of them because we don't have the Mondays up there, but Tuesday through Sundays seem to be scheduled for the month of August and the month of September, going into the month of October. So the only thing I have to do is create scripts for those and create the Monday shows the weekend before the Monday because I want to give you guys late breaking news, or not late breaking, but up to date news about what's going on with politics and how it impacts your money directly in the moment. Right. I don't want to have a topic from 3 weeks ago where stuff changed since I put up the topic. Uh, oh, you're looking forward to that intro music? Uh, see, the wild part is that if I play it in the background, um, during the show, you can't hear me talk because I've tried that from time to time. Because we've got like I could put the background music up there, but when I put it up there, it's like you can hear it, but you can also hear me, and that starts making things a little bit more compromised. Right? It's a really good jam. It really is. I love it, but for some reason, it just doesn't do what I expect. Let me see if I can you hear it? I can't hear it. I can hear myself. I was trying to make it work for you here in the background, but it kind of interferes with our ability to have a discussion. Yeah, I'm not hearing it. Uh, I tried, my man. All right, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. And it's like a 4 5 minute intro. So I know it's a good song. I love it. Uh, and that's why I brought that one back because I had Elvis Protocol playing, and then non-negotiable playing for a season, and then I have that one as the outro as well. So I actually like that version of the of Higher Ground. But you can actually, if you ever want to rock out to that particular song, let me go ahead and stop this. Oh no, it's fading in and out. Hold on a second. Oh, now I can hear it. They tripping. YouTube is wild. Okay, here. Steven, this is the name of the song. So if in the event that you ever want to just go to YouTube and listen to the song, it is called Higher Ground. And it is on a this and that track. It's a five song track or album that has like three different versions of Higher Ground, Elevation Protocol, and Non-Negotiables on the YouTube platform. And so if you ever want to rock out to those songs, you can go ahead and do that. Uh, okay, this is strange, but this individual is supposed to be putting on some suede loafers tomorrow and go around Italians. Excuse me. I kind of scared the dog. No, funny. I actually side note real quick because before we get started on the main topic, 'cause since Cash Bandit had mentioned that, I actually was looking at some Oxfords and I found there is a specific store, and I'm gonna put it into the membership. I'm gonna put the link into the membership, in case Stephen, if you want to take a look. Um, I found a place where you can make custom shoes, your custom Oxfords, and they're like between 200 and $400 a shoe for the set. You can make them like with different materials, different kind of leathers, different colors, two tone it if you want to, and that's the kind of um, unique qualities where people with a little bit of class and a little bit of style would be able to look at your shoes matching your outfit and having custom shoes. Like if you wanted to have like some um, brownish tan and white Oxfords to match your chocolate brown and vanilla cream suit kind of thing, you could get you some custom made shoes to match your suit. And in doing so, you could create a unique style with a pair of shoes that nobody's got, or very few people put it together like that. So in your network and the people that you pass by, no one's got those and no one would know where to go to get those. And they're going to admire that because it's rare to see. It's not something that you can pick up at Walmart. It's not something that you can pick up at the mall. It's not something that you can pick up at a Oxford shoe store because it's a custom shoe. So it's a bargain thing for somebody that's coming up if you're trying to expand your wardrobe and you're trying to get more stylish attire without having to go all out and buy a bunch of expensive things. But again, it's a three-figure budget. You're looking at between like 215 and like $400 for the shoes, plus taxes and shipping. If that is something that you're interested in, I saw it and I thought that that might be a good idea to eventually add to my budget, but it is not something I'm doing in the next 5 months. But I'm going to put the link in the membership just so that you can take a look at them. And the reason why I'm talking to you about it is because don't forget to grab your stock party if you didn't grab it yesterday. But because the ability to create the shoe, hold on a second. This says Benjamin Sales. Well, I thought he was popping up. I don't know who Benjamin Sales was, but Benjamin Sales was trying to pop into the channel real quick, and that would have been interesting. Either way, um, the reason why I mentioned it to you, Stephen, is because if you go and take a look at it, you have the capability to um, like custom draft the shoe, kind of see how it looks, see if you like it, and then take a screenshot of it and hold on to the design. And then whenever you decide that you want to go ahead and grab it, you can go back to that same link and then recreate the same shoe and then purchase it at that point. So it's something where you have like low tops, high tops, stuff to that effect, and you can kind of window shop the situation. And that's why I'm mentioning it because what wealthy people do over broke minded individuals is a broke minded person will impulse buy an item. This looks good. I want it now. It'll make me feel good if I buy it now. It'll make me look good if I buy it now. People will envy me if I buy it now. Impulse buy, bad decision. You can look at the shoes. You can look at your wardrobe and remember what I told you on February and March. If you can find 3 or 4 outfits that you can wear with that item, it's a good buy to add to your wardrobe. If it's the kind of thing that's exclusive to one item or one wardrobe, one outfit, it's not good for your wardrobe. So if you found a pair of shoes and you wanted to get a standard pair of shoes, a standard color, then you look at what's in your closet. If you can't find 3 outfits to wear with those shoes, you don't buy it. If you're making a custom pair of shoes, if you don't have 3 outfits to wear with those shoes, then you don't buy it. However, if you're planning on buying that pair of shoes and then accompanying that pair of shoes with maybe 3 or 4 outfits off of Temu that would match that pair of shoes, then you can get the shoes and the 3 or 4 outfits, and then you've effectively added to your wardrobe. But you could also, one of the things that I talked to you guys about with impulse buying is instead of buying it in the moment and then regretting to buy later when you have other financial expectations, you can actually budget for it. So if it's a $200 or $300 shoe and you wanted to say put $50 aside every month to get the shoe in a few months, then you can go and grab the shoes without having to be concerned about the rest of your budget and still be able to get the style that you want. Because remember when we were talking about earlier this year, creating the wardrobe that you want, you can do it on a budget by allocating a specific amount of money every month to a wardrobe fund. And then once you reach certain thresholds, you can go to certain stores and buy certain things to improve your wardrobe. So I just wanted to touch base on that as a side note because I thought that that would be fantastic for you to know, and also very interesting for you to acclimate once you start working that into the rest of your stuff. And here comes Michael with left field information. He says, just use the credit card. Well, Michael, there are some people that have large credit card amounts. And yes, you could just put it on a credit card. But if you're going to put it on a credit card and you don't have the full amount, that means that the debt is going to roll over on the credit card, which means that you're going to have interest rates on a credit card, which increases the cost of the shoe. Because if it's a $400 shoe and you're paying 22% interest on the $400 for the shoe, you would likely be paying an extra 40 or $50 for that shoe over time because you're paying for the interest on the show. If you paying for interest on the shoe, if you were to like I told you guys before, um, if you're revolving all of your standard utility bills and standard issue like insurances and everything like that through your credit cards and then paying it down, where you're leaving $2 on the card at the end of the month, you will find yourself in a position where you might actually have an extra $300 somewhere, and then instead of just putting it on a credit card and letting it roll over, you can wait until the credit card rolls itself over, put it on a credit card, and then pay it in a couple of weeks, where the credit card is still at $2, but all of your bills are paid for the next 6 months, so it doesn't hurt your budget. Either way, it's a planning thing. You don't just throw it on your credit card because that's a waste of money. And that's a bad decision. A smart decision would be to budget it in a way where you can allocate the money into your expenses in a way where it doesn't hurt your bottom line. He says, I'll pay for it later. Well, of course, you're almost dead. You can pay for it later. It's just my right arm at 28%. Yeah, but that's too much. That's a waste of money. Why pay an extra 28% to impulse buy now when you can budget it and not have that 20% and still get the shoes? Because you don't need them right now. I just mentioned it to him today, which means that he could make plans to look at the shoes this month and then make plans to pick up the shoes maybe by Christmas, probably catch a Christmas sale and still get the same custom shoes. Wouldn't it make more sense to just wait and then plan for it instead of just running out there and going and grab it on a credit card or running out there and spending money you don't have to buy something that I just mentioned today? That isn't a situation that's going to disappear anytime soon. So it's not like it's a limited edition. It's just custom where not too many people know about it to put an effort into trying to acquire it. Okay, Michael says, I'm glad we're finally on the same page. Save, pay, cash. No, we're not on the same page. I'm not saying save and pay in cash. I'm saying budget your money so that if you were to put it on a credit card, you're putting it on a credit card after the billing cycle rolls over within the first 5 days of the new billing cycle. And then you can pay off the credit card within 7 days before the end of the billing cycle so that you can keep utilizing your credit cards in order to keep the utilization low and keep credit usage or credit limits availabilities high, which actually improves your credit score because you have to have pass through activity, because if there's no activity on your credit cards, your credit score is not going to be as high as it would be if there's activity on the credit card, right? So no, we're not on the same page. We're rarely on the same page, because yeah, you could put it on a credit card, but you're not supposed to. The wise decision is to not put money on your credit card that you don't have available in cash. And the reason why that is because if you're going to charge it to your credit card today and your bill doesn't end, like right now, it's what, the 5th of August. If your credit card rolls over on the 30th of August, you put the shoes on your credit card today, and then you pay off the shoes on the credit card by the 20th. That way, when the credit card rolls over on the 30th, the shoes are paid down. But that only happens when you have the money for it. Because if you buy the shoes today, August 5th, and the $300 or $400 balance is still on the credit card September 5th, then you've got to pay the interest rates on the shoes. And that's what I'm telling you is a waste of money. So it's a bad decision to only pay cash, and it's a bad decision to charge something to your credit card that you don't have cash to put on the credit card to pay the credit card off. That's what I'm trying to say. Is that you only need $2 to keep your account open. Okay, so if you leave your credit card with a balance of 50 cents, well, technically it's got to be more than $1 for it to show up on a credit report. So if you leave $2 on there, $1.50, they're going to round it up to $2. If you leave $2 on your credit card, it's going to show up on your credit card, on your credit report every month that there's a $2 balance on your credit card that needs to be paid. Right? Now, back to what I said before is that you still should, if you're going to charge it to the card at the beginning of your billing cycle, which gives you 3 weeks to pay it off. so that it's paid off before the end of the fourth week, so that you still only have a $2 balance on your credit card. That's what I'm saying. But if you don't have the $300 to pay off the shoes on a credit card now, then you don't want to charge it to the credit card now. You want to put money aside and save the $300, $400 for the shoes now, and then put it on the credit card when you know you have enough money to pay off the credit card after you've got the shoes. That's what we're trying to tell you. That would make more sense. So it's hard to teach. It's hard to teach Michael. Then why buy? See, exactly. It's hard to teach Michael how to. Okay, Mike. Steven is changing his wardrobe from casual street clothes to professional business clothes. And if you're changing your wardrobe, you're going to do things like buy new shoes as well as buy new dress shirts, buy new dress pants, buy new undergarments. And if you're buying shoes to match your outfit, not just standard black shoes, uh, you're going to look for shoes that matches your outfit some kind of way. So if you're buying Oxfords are high quality shoes, very durable. And if you were to buy that instead of buying a flashy pair of dress shoes from a cheap store that would fall apart in a shorter period of time, you buy one pair of Oxfords that might last you 10 years instead of buying a pair of cheaper shoes that might cost you like $45, but you would have to buy 10 pairs of them in order for it to last you the same 10-year span. The difference is that you have one pair of shoes of quality, and if you were to buy a one quality shoe a year, where each shoe that is a quality shoe would last you like 5 or 10 years. If you bought one quality shoe a year, you would end up having 5 or 10 shoes in 5 years. And that would give you the ability to cycle those shoes out, which would extend the life of the shoes and expand your wardrobe and keep you with a stylish look that is custom to who you are going to be now. And that's why we were talking about that, because this is piggybacking off of a previous show in February and March when I was telling Stephen about how to improve his wardrobe. That's why you buy them. You buy the shoes in order to improve your visibility in your attire, because your respect is going to start with how you look when you walk up, how you walk when you walk up, and then how you talk after you get there. So if you are, even if you're wearing a suit, if you're wearing a suit with Converse on, like black sneakers or whatever, it may take away from the visibility of the quality of the suit. So if you wear actual quality dress shoes with the suit, then it keeps a neutral balance of visibility where you look business from head to toe, not look like a child at your feet and look like an adult in the suit where it looks like you're wearing your daddy's suit, which ultimately means that you're not going to be respected as a man. That's why you buy them when you can afford them. That's what I was trying to get you to understand. He says, well, if you don't have the money, you don't need them. Wrong. If you don't have the money, you budget for them. You can need something and not have the money to pay for it, and you can want something and have the money to pay for it. And the things that you want, you may not need, right? And the things that you need, you may not afford. So if you don't have the money for something that you can benefit from, you budget for it. You don't just chalk up anything outside of your budget as I don't need that. That is the difference. That's a scavenger lifestyle. You're forcing yourself to do without because you don't make enough money to get the things that you need. Instead, you budget your money. And with Steven, he should be upward of 50 or 60% of his income being invested into his brokerage account, building generational wealth. So he has the capability of saying, well, instead of me putting $400 a month into my brokerage account, I might want to take $50 a month and put it towards getting me another pair of shoes, where I would then be putting $350 a month into my brokerage account and then buying those shoes, which is just reallocating capital. And that is wise and appropriate investing, right? As well as budgeting and saving and building yourself up in a more successful way, not just doing without or overspending simply because you have it. Is it, oh, you mean save for them? Man, that's the first thing that I said like 20 minutes ago. As soon as I said, don't get them right now, you can save for them, you can budget for them. And then when you have enough money to get them, then you go get them. And you said, just throw it on the credit card. Sit down and paint, Michael. Sit down and paint. ah, budget, save, same thing. No, no. Okay, so saving is going to be holding money, just holding money. Budgeting is going to be having a line item for every dollar that you have, where there's a job for each dollar that you're sitting on. There's a difference there because I could save gas in my car, just have gas, or I can have a certain quantity of mileage that is dedicated to a specific trip. You have to recognize, Michael, that there's a fine line between carelessly automating your life, where you're just going with the flow, versus deliberately, intentionally assigning tasks and operations throughout your life in order for you to make sure that things are going the way you want them to go, instead of like being on a semi autopilot situation. He said, do you have the shoes? Better save. I made it clear earlier that I found the shoes. I thought they were nice. I figured that I would tell Stephen about them. I was going to send him a link so that he can window shop on a situation where he's looking at them but not buying them. And when I get those shoes, although I did say I wouldn't get them within the next 5 months, that I would have those shoes specifically because I have the ability to afford those shoes. So and it's not because I don't have the money to get the shoes today. I don't have the value in getting those shoes today because I already have 4 or 5 pairs of shoes that I bought within the last 5 months that I'm not wearing all of those shoes every month. So since I'm not wearing all of those shoes every month, there are some shoes that I wear for some reasons and other shoes that I wear for other reasons. Like I have certain shoes that I wear when I go to the airport so I don't have to worry about the metal detectors. And I have other shoes that I wear out in the streets where I wouldn't be able to wear those shoes in a courthouse. I have shoes that I wear to court. I have shoes that I wear to the store. I have shoes that I wear when it's cold out. I have shoes that I wear when it's not cold out. I have shoes that I wear in the yard when I'm not going anywhere that are not the kind of shoes that I would wear if I got in a car and went somewhere. So I have not found the value in buying those particular shoes for myself for my wardrobe yet, but I did find the value in getting those shoes for my wardrobe. I'm just not doing it right now. So it's not going to be a better save. It is a reallocate capital. So you're recreating a budget, and a budget is something that you can write down and look at and then adjust. That's the difference between saving and budgeting. Because if I'm going to wait until I have $300 in my bank account and go and buy a pair of shoes, that's just delaying an impulse buy. But if I'm budgeting a line item where I could have $10,000 in an account, but if I don't have the $300 that I set aside for that particular line item, I'm still not buying the shoes. That's budgeting. That's being responsible. Because what say you had a $5,000 emergency fund? You want to take $350 out and go buy some shoes? Then if your car breaks and you need $5,000 to replace your engine and your transmission, you don't have it. You're $350 short because you went and bought shoes. But if you were budgeting, you would have that $5,000 sitting there for an emergency fund and an extra $350 there for the shoes. That's budgeting. Then you go and buy the shoes. He says you can budget for them and put that money away for those shoes. Yes. Now, back to France, because that's what we were supposed to be talking about today. We're going to start with one problem with the two ideologies that they talk about with France. The dream is going to be a common one, leaving an old life behind and starting a fresh one in France. Now, one might picture, morning walks on the Bolin, what is that? Boulangerie. I'm probably saying that wrong. A long lunch and cobblestone streets. I feel like that's like Boulange, Boulange, Boulangerie. Never been to France, so pronunciations are a bit rough. Now, you also have the reality that's going to hit you in these particular situations when you're forming financial advice, which is what we were just discussing, is the financial opportunities that would require you to rethink how you do things. Online searches and videos are going to present a very specific, very conservative story. It can be called the expat financial fortress model, right? It's going to go a little something like this. First, you must completely and utterly be debt free in this particular situation. Second, you must amass a massive amount of savings, years of living expenses, just sitting in an account. Third, a stable local job in France must be secured, a Herculean task, or you must have a massive pension. The advice is always about minimizing risk to absolute zero. And it's going to be about building impenetrable financial walls before even packing a single suitcase. That's the advice that's being given online right now. He says, postcard honeymoon in France, better keep an eye on your wallet. Well, we've talked about plenty of different times that certain countries around the world is realistically impossible to perform under the false information that people give. Because yes, at the lifestyle of the natives, there are some situations where you can live dirt cheap. However, to minimize culture shock and maximize the comfort of Western living, a lot of countries that would otherwise be a dirt cheap standard living might be 3 or 4 times more just to manage the lifestyle that you're used to in another country. Then you also have other countries that are just as expensive, if not more expensive than America, where you go from a middle class lifestyle in America to a lower class lifestyle in another country. So while the countries that have the cost of living 30% of the cost of American living, you can go to a cheaper country with a bottom 25 percentile income and be part of the 50 percentile lifestyle in that other country. But if you take that 30 percentile income and go to certain country, you're not only going to be struggling, you're not even going to know what survival looks like, because you're going to be robbing Peter to pay Paul and working 2 jobs, and you're probably only going to be there for a week or two, and you're going to bail out because there's too much going on and it costs too much money. That's when you start taking $10 and $15,000 trips to France to look at France for 2 weeks and then come back. And yes, if you go to some of the expat places and you live the expat lifestyle, you can find yourself in a position where you love every country that you go to, because countries only show the tourists the best size of the country. Now, when you go to the country and you go to the outskirts away from the tourists, you see there's a whole different side to every country. It's not as pretty as it looks. It's not as friendly as you think. It's not as welcoming as you would believe. And it's not as cheap as you think in some scenarios, right? It's not as convenient when it is cheap. So if you want to get the true experience of a country, you have to go there and then get outside of the tourist trap. But if you want to live a life of comfort and wow, you can stay inside the tourist traps and pay an exuberant amount of money, which will limit your ability to be there based on the budget that you have. So the lifestyle that is going to be promoted from these types of sites is going to be one of extreme caution. Don't invest, avoid the stock markets. The subtext is always going to be the same. As an expat, one is fragile, and an expat's financial life must be simple, boring, and above all else, safe. Now, the result is that most people fall into one of two traps. First, it's paralysis. They look at the mountain of cash that they supposedly need and they just give up. The dream dies on the altar of a spreadsheet. Second trap is the scarcity mindset. The few who do make it over there often live in a state of perpetual financial anxiety, afraid to actually spend money and enjoy the very life that they sacrifice so much to build. Now, this model can feel like a life sentence of financial anxiety. It is not a blueprint for living, it is a blueprint for not failing. And there is a world of difference between the two. Is it going to France, get a permit to carry? Well, I I have found that there are a lot of countries that would authorize you under certain conditions to carry your American firearm into their country. It does require you to report your firearm upon packing and going on a trip. It does require you to fill out a lot of paperwork, and more often than not, it's going to require you to get a permit of some sort, unless well, no, you should get a permit of some sort, but there's going to be, in addition to the requirement for you to a lot of times go and uh, establish a business, and you're going there on business where you're like a security company or something to that effect, and you're bringing a firearms because it's part of the job kind of thing. But in that scenario, you're there on business, going to specific venues and coming back from those specific venues and then getting on a plane and leaving. They want to know your whereabouts from the time you get there to the time you leave. And a lot of countries, when you go, you might be able to board the plane and go there with the firearm, but you have to surrender the firearm as soon as you get there to the local law enforcement, collect your paperwork, and then when you're ready to leave the country, you go back to that location, collect your firearm, and get back on the plane and fly back with your equipment. So that's a situation where you have to decide: uh, do you want to? Because your Second Amendment constitutional rights in America doesn't carry over in another country, and our stand your ground, use lethal force laws in America, and potentially not have to go to jail for it in America doesn't apply in other countries. So if you go to another country and you attempt to defend yourself with lethal force, you might just be facing murder, because in other countries where they don't have a lot of violent crime, in other countries where they don't have a lot of deaths and injuries by firearms, because they very rarely use firearms, the society has found ways to not have to use firearms and protect themselves. And if you aren't going to acclimate yourself in that fashion, you might find yourself in a world of trouble. So, like for example, I've seen certain products online where they have knife-proof clothing, stab-proof clothing, and instead of you going to those other places and taking shots at folks, you would instead, you know, block with your knife-proof clothing and disarm them some kind of way, and probably hit them with a brick, but not necessarily shoot them with a pistol. So you really gotta change the way you do things. Special shout out to Unc Andy. He said, "Hey yo, just stop by to say hi. I appreciate you, Unc. Greatly appreciate you diving in today. Unc is one of the guys in the membership." So yeah, you got to really think about like where you're going and how you're going to get there and what you're going to do when you get there. There is an understanding that you can potentially travel, like for example, in America, you can travel with body armor, but in certain countries, body armor is prohibited. If you have stealth armor, you could potentially travel with that stealth armor, and but unfortunately, if you don't report it, you could have a lot of problems with their customs, their TSA agents. Americans might not care, but when you get off the plane in another country, they're not going to say anything. It's when you're trying to get back on the plane coming out of that country, if they're going to say anything. Their method to search you in another country is different from the method of being searched in America. So if you go to another country um, under the observation of constitutional entitlements from America, you go to another country where those rules don't apply, you'll find yourself in a lot of problems. So you want to look at their local laws before you go there, see what you can and cannot do. Um, Before you plan the trip, you want to contact them about certain line items that you plan to carry with you, because it's going to be on you, on your person, in your American airport. And if they tell you, well, you can't walk around town with that here. Well, alternatively, is there a way that I can safely turn it in and get documentation for it once I touch down in your city, and then collect it from you on my way out, so that I have it when I get off the plane in America? Kind of question. And that's when they can work out a middle ground between your ability to carry while on American soil, but not necessarily carry on their soil. And the permits that they're going to give you in a lot of other countries as an expat might be to defend your home from an invasion, but not conceal carry or open carry in the streets of the local city. So you want to pay attention to that as well. So that's going to be a little bit different. Because in America, we can open carry now all over the place, but they don't have open carry in a lot of other countries, especially if you're going to places like Southeast Asia. There's nobody's got nothing. Like you might see like a extendable baton come out faster than faster than somebody pulling out a firearm, right? Now, as it pertains to the model that people are being advertised with, we're going to live and invest in France. That there's a fundamental flaw in the thinking of overstacking a bunch of capital in order to go there and have a financially free lifestyle or a problem-free financial lifestyle. Um, and that's because this thinking is going to be based on an old model where income is tied to a physical location, um, which is new in our environment that we don't have to worry about that because fintech allows us to have our income not necessarily uh, attached to our current location. We not only fintech but digital nomads because being able to get paid off of the computer or getting paid from a cell phone, getting paid in emails and stuff to that effect, you don't necessarily have to collect your money from a physical location. You can actually collect your money from the nearest ATM machine or the nearest partnering bank, which one of the things that you would want to do before you start going to other countries is instead of dealing with the pressure of trying to create an account in a local bank, you might want to find an international branch like Chase or somebody like that that might have a branch in that country. While getting to the convenience of that bank is going to be inconvenient, the fact is that you have less complications if you move your money to a Chase bank account in America and then withdraw that money from a Chase bank account in France. It makes a lot more sense that way. Or if you follow one of the other shows that I had where I told you guys about getting you a international bank account, which would allow for currency exchange across countries, where you would wire transfer your money to the international bank account, and then the international bank account would allow you to utilize the money in any country around the world. Not for free though. We understand that with currency exchange, there is going to be exchange rate fees, but having the capabilities of having your money accessible to you when you get ready to start spending it, that is what we're talking about here. So the old model is going to assume uh, the one person that owns the most money versus the one who spends the money. So I'm going to say that again. It's going to be under the assumption that you must earn a lot of money in order to have a lot of money to spend. So you must put a lot of money somewhere in order for you to have a lot of money to spend. That's the old model. But what if that old model is no longer true? What if there's a system that could be built where the money works for you in a much more powerful economic engine while you enjoy the benefits of a higher quality of life somewhere else? Now, remember, I've been talking to you guys about geo arbitrage. Geo arbitrage is where you make uh, capital in a country that has a higher dollar cost average, where the buying power is more effective in a different country. Like, for example, the United States, more money, more effective money than in another country like the Philippines or uh, Indonesia or like South Africa. Special shout out to Bangladesh or Belarus or Kazakhstan. A United States dollar might have more value than places like that or places like Mexico And if you are earning income from America while living in a cheaper country, your income would go further in that country instead of working specifically in that country, making an income from that country, right? That's something that not a lot of people think about. Now, this is going to be the foundation of a strategy. And it's not about being reckless, it is about being strategic. And it is going to be about leveraging global arbitrage for an entire lifestyle. And the first step is to reject the conventional wisdom that is keeping so many people from their French dreams. So, what is going to be the big unorthodox secret? The one that I told you guys that I was going to tell y'all today. It's going to be this: the money isn't just saved, it's put to work. And it is not put to work in France, the capital, which is going to be the engine that powers the lifestyle, would remain firmly planted in like the United States market. This is the concept that makes many traditional advisors nervous. They talk about currency risks, tax complications. What they miss is the incredible power of geographic arbitrage when it applies to the capital itself. So let's break this down and think about it. The goal is to generate a constant stream of passive income. The French government actually has a visa for this, the long stay visitor visa, or VLSTS visiteur. It's for people who can support themselves without working in France. This is a critical point. This visa prohibits any professional activity. You cannot work, not even remotely, for foreign clients. The income has to be truly passive from things like investments, pensions, or rentals. So, how much passive income is needed? The absolute legal minimum is tied to the French minimum wage, the SMIC, which for the 2026 year is around 1,450 net dollars, or well, that would be euros per month. Euros or francs, I don't know, but 1,450 of them for a single person. That's not a lot. That's not a lot. But here's going to be a pro tip: consults are much more comfortable and approvals come much more smoothly when the applicant can show a stable income closer to 2,500 or $3,000 per month. It's not an official rule, but it is well known practice that showing a solid buffer exists makes things easier for you guys to get in there and be successful. Now, with that in mind, we target set recently generate. Let's get the mic back up. Gonna have to buy another one of these soon. They don't hold a lot of power. Either way, we were talking about recently I got the other one. This one might last us a half hour. Hold on a second. We gotta turn this one on. Y'all remember I bought these almost a year ago, and $22 a piece on Timo. Um, they ended up, both of them ended up being broken within a month of having them, and they still managed to work. So I just held on to them, tried to get my $44 worth out of them, and now it looks like it's time to upgrade. Now, if I would have bought me a $100 or $150 pair that would have been more durable, I probably would have still had the same one pair that probably would have lasted me a heck of a lot longer. Where me buying one or two replacements is going to equivalent buying a $100 item. So I've been looking into some new ones and seeing which ones I'm going to grab because I want to get a better quality than the ones that I got. but similar to the ones that I got so that I can have the same hands-free capabilities. But we were targeting recently $3,000 budgets, 3,000 US dollar budgets. Now, this would be about 2,800 euros in monthly passive income. And what I told you guys before is that if you had between 2,500 and 3,000 euros per month, it would be easier to get approved for that $1,450 net income. And because 2,800 is like 200 away from the top side, you're in the clear. So how is that done? The old fortress approach would be to have a massive pile of cash that is slowly drawn down. And that is the retirement model that a lot of people talk about, is putting a large quantity of money somewhere and then selling off stocks, withdrawing money, uh, uh, almost like Raymond Reddington from Blacklist, like dismantling your empire and using all of your resources as you phase out of the industry, right? Truth is, you don't have to do that. I've been giving you guys a bunch of portfolios where the money can make money for you and you can have a fully automated 100% dividend paying portfolio that's giving you back upward of 15 to 20% return on investment, where you can make a lot of money and not have to sell anything, not have to give anything away, right? And it'll always be there as long as those companies don't go under. Steven says, selling off stocks is never an option. It's not, but the old model was build up enough, because preferably people grab growth stocks, because growth stocks would expand in value more effectively than dividend paying stocks. But dividend paying stocks pays you more money over time. So when you think about buying and holding a stock for 40 years and having 5 times more than what you started with, versus buying a stock that pays dividends that would be paying you an allowance every year until for 40 years, until you decide to stop adding to the principal, is that you can benefit from getting money back today versus having to wait until years later and selling it off and getting money back later. So now that you can live off of the dividends, it is not as effective to buy and hold a stock for 40 years and then sell it. Now it is more effective to buy and hold more dividend paying stocks that you don't have to sell, so that you can keep those stocks, right? Trader says, so the federal tax exemption does not apply to unearned income when living abroad. Um, Federal tax exemption. So you have a federal tax exemption for the United States for income that is earned from anywhere around the world. That income is typically from selling something, whether it's a service or an item, to make a profit. The exemption is going to come under certain qualifications. Like, for example, if you are generating an income from another country as a United States citizen, the United States may offer you a tax exemption up to a certain amount, like 150 or $250,000, because that country is going to tax you, and the goal is to not have you taxed twice for the same money. So if you're reporting to both countries, one country should offer you a tax exemption because the other country is going to tax you on that same money, right? Now, if you're not earning an income, okay, because income taxes is for income, right? And that's going to be another thing that people utilize trusts for, because if you build a trust in a country that doesn't tax, and the trust pays money to the beneficiaries, it is not classified as earned income, because that is not taxable income in a country that doesn't charge taxes. In the United States, if the trust pays taxes on the money in the trust before it issues out the dividends, then while it's going to be paying way more taxes than what you will That one didn't even last a half hour. Well, I'll be buying some headsets a lot sooner than I thought. Either way, what I was saying was, if you pre-tax the money, where you pay the taxes in America from the trust before you allocate the money to the beneficiaries, then you would be in a situation where it is pre-taxed. So the person who receives it doesn't have to pay taxes on it because the taxes was already paid before it was issued out, right? So under those circumstances, if you have pre-tax money from a trust being issued to you, other countries have this standard where under certain circumstances you are not locally taxed in their country from money you receive from another country. So if you have pre-tax money or tax deferred money, if you have a portfolio of 100% tax favorable stocks where you don't have any REITs or BDCs in there, and you have all of your stocks are like tax favored stocks where the company pays taxes on the profits before they give money to the beneficiaries, in that situation, the United States, you would have a zero tax bill. While you would still have to file for them to verify that you still have a zero tax bill, you would have a zero tax bill from America, but the other country who would not tax on foreign income, you wouldn't have to pay taxes there either. So I think that's what you're referring to. Does it apply to unearned income when you're living abroad? If it is not earned, there isn't a taxation on it if it's not earned income. But we also have to recognize you have a prize tax and you have a gift tax. So we would have to look at some tax laws to be able to determine the difference between a gift tax and a beneficiary distribution from a trust to determine whether or not that qualifies as a gift tax. So United States citizens still pay taxes on dividend income while living abroad. If you are a United States tax citizen and you get money from anywhere in the world, the United States expects you to give them money, even if there is a lot of information out there that states that technically a lot of people don't have to pay. There are some people that are exempt under certain circumstances, especially if the money that you're getting is not inside of the threshold or inside of the threshold of tax exemption. And an exemption means that you don't even have to file. So what you're referring to is not so much an exemption. It would be like tax deductions, tax benefits. It would be like tax deferment, stuff to that effect, not an exemption. You would not be exempt because you're a United States citizen. And wherever you are, everybody else in the country tells the IRS that your personal income is in their country. Now, it is your personal income, not the trust, not the business, your personal income. So if Stephen opens a bank account in France, France tells the United States, Stephen has a bank account and this is how much money is in it. If Stephen's trust sends Stephen money, that's not the thing. But if Stephen opens a bank account in another country and Stephen's trust sends Stephen money, then Stephen's bank account will tell the United States that Stephen's trust sent him money. Now, if Stephen had a business out there, LLC, C corporation, something like that, and Stephen's trust sent money to Stephen's business and Stephen's business paid for Stephen's standard of living, they don't report business information to other countries. They report personal information to other countries. So if you're going to another country on a business trip under an LLC with a tax identification number for the business, that is not something that's going to be readily returned back to the United States government. It doesn't mean that they can't tell that if you're trying to use a shell corporation to mask laundering money. It just means that it is less reported and less scrutinized, especially if it's not large denominations of money. You know, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 a month, enough for somebody to live off of, is less often reported and less often scrutinized by the United States government. Now, if it was $50,000, $60,000, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 at a time, then everybody would be cracking open investigations, seeing where the money's coming from, who it's going to, and then the United States would be like, well, hold on, if you got that much money going on, let me get some of that, right? So you got to pay attention to that.
Steven says that if you hold Chinese stocks, for example, is that taxed differently? If you have income, stocks, bonds, ETFs of any kind, real estate, rental properties, whatever going on in China, that is a foreign income that the United States wants you to report, and up to somewhere between $150,000 and $250,000 a year, the United States will give you an exemption, or not an, yeah, like an exemption. It's similar to an exemption of the deductible or deferral, however you want to word it, where the United States is not going to tax you on that money. And the reason why the United States is not going to tax you on that money is because China's going to tax you on that money. So what people think is, if I'm a United States citizen, if I'm making a profit in another country, I don't have to file taxes in the local country that I'm in. That is wrong. If you're in the local country that you're in, if you're in China, if you're in Africa, if you're in Australia, and you're making a profit from that country locally, you've got to pay local taxes. The difference is that you report it to America so that you don't have to pay taxes in America as well for the same money. So the exemption that you might get is that, say you're making like $70,000 a year in like Dubai. Dubai might tax you for making the money in Dubai, but the United States might not tax you for the same money in the United States. That's what we're talking about. So it's not like, oh, well, if I hop a plane and go to the Philippines, I no longer have to pay taxes as a United States citizen. You still should report it. It's just that they may turn around and tell you, you don't owe us nothing for that, right? But if it is taxable income, they're going to get their cut. And then the Philippines is not going to tax you on it, because you're going to, if it is income made in the Philippines, then the Philippines will say, well, you got to give me a cut. But if it is just money sent to you from somewhere else, then the Philippines is going to be like, well, we ain't going to tax you neither, right? But as a tax citizen at any country that you live in, you should report your foreign income to your local government. That should be a practice that you have, because as we've discussed on the show plenty of times, is that transparency is mandatory amongst all 100-something countries around the world. And while the governments are going to be more transparent with one another, it is in your best interest to not be discreet about your finances with the governments that are going to be involved, because international issues could cause your money to be frozen and you be trapped in another country where you don't have the benefits that you would have in your home country. That's a concern that you got to pay attention to. In general, the United States taxes its citizens on worldwide income. Yes. So just gotta. That's not France discussion, but yes, in general, holistically, if you are a tax citizen of a specific country, the tax laws of that country applies to you even when you're not in that country. Doesn't matter what country it is. So if that country does not charge you taxation for making money in another country, then your tax country will exempt you from taxation. If your tax country will tax you on income made anywhere in the world, then you have to report that tax to your local country. Now, the country that you make the money in is a different country. And if that country taxes the money, then your home country may not tax the money. But if that country does not tax the money, your home country might tax the money. But say like Naviz or Cape Cod, they may not tax, and the United States may not tax. So you might end up with tax-free money. But say like Belize or like Sudan or like India, they may tax, but the United States may not tax because it's happening in their country, not in the United States. It's different than most other countries in the world. Every country is going to be different. The only thing is that, like I tell you guys before, one of the fundamental truths that I tell you guys is to accept the consequences of your actions before you perform any actions. So knowing what you can and cannot do before you go there is important. So know if you're planning on making money, like let's say you wanted to go to Japan. Let's say you wanted to go to Japan and start up a business and benefit from the incentive that they give you for hiring two locals to run your business for you, which encourages you to set up something that you don't have to show up for work for every day. And let's say that you wanted to go there and benefit from the childcare benefit that they offer. Fact is, you're going over there with the expectation to make money locally as a business or as an entrepreneur. And now you need to find out what their tax laws are. Now you need to find out what their business laws are. Now you need to find out what legal age limits you can hire so that you're not hiring people too young, what their labor laws look like so that you're not working people too much, what termination laws that they have so that you're not firing people thinking that you can fire them in that country the way you fire them in America, and then find out that you end up in a legal action because their work laws prevent you from terminating somebody without going through the proper channels. So in America, you could tell somebody, you can look somebody in a day and hit them with that Vince McMahon, and your ass is fired today, and tomorrow that person don't have a job. And in another country, if you were to pull that off, they may have compensation for that type of termination. So you have to look at the local laws, and you have to look at the local tax laws, because depending on what you're doing in other countries, they have special economic zones, just like the special economic zones I was talking to you about yesterday. In America, they have special economic zones where the government supports your business, and they may give you tax advantages like no taxes, low taxes, or tax credits. They may subsidize your situation where they reimburse you a certain quantity of money, which reduces your debt. So you're supposed to know what the country will allow you to do before you go there, and how is America going to feel about it when you're going over there to do it? So if you wanted to start up a real estate business in another country, and the United States was to say, for example, well, we're not going to tax you on $250,000 worth of money that you make from Japan. Okay, cool. Well, if I'm starting up a business in Japan, I can have $10 million worth of real estate in Japan, but if I'm not getting $250 a year worth of rent money from Japan, I don't have to pay taxes for the United States. But I got to tell the United States, oh yeah, well, so far, according to my ledgers, I made $248,012.62. It's not the $250,000 that threshold that you said. And in the U.S., it's like, don't worry about it. But if you think, oh well, I started up a business in Japan, I don't have to tell the United States nothing. Eventually, somebody's going to find out, and when they do, that is what is identified as tax evasion. Because you withheld information. If you file, you should report everything. If you choose not to file, you roll the dice on that, but at least you're not lying on a document. But if you file and you fail to mention something somewhere else, that is evasion. The United States is tax money hungry. Yes, they are. They tax you everywhere. Now, what we were talking about before was the old ways that people talk about building up investment portfolios in another country and then living off of those investments by selling off their stocks and borrowing, or not borrowing, but depleting their savings by spending it towards this lifestyle. That is ultimately the path of capital destruction. The opposite approach is capital preservation, which is what I promote to you guys on a regular basis, and cash flow generation. The capital needs to produce an income without the need to sell the underlying asset. So think of it like an apple orchard. The fortune method is cutting down a tree every month to sell it for firewood. That'll work for a while, but eventually there's no tree left. My method is to harvest the apples every month, sell the apples, not the tree. The tree remains intact, we can still turn a profit. So where can you find these high yield apple trees, hypothetically? Well, the answer is going to be found in specific US-based investments designed for cash flow, like high dividend ETFs, REITs, and specific other covered called ETFs. Now, this is going to be absolutely not the financial advice that you would be expecting to have. And you must do your own homework. But to explain the concept, if we use covered call ETFs like JEPI or JPQ as an example, these funds hold stocks but also sell options on them to generate monthly income streams. And the trade-off is giving up some explosive growth potential in exchange for a more consistent monthly cash flow. So for someone funding a lifestyle abroad, this is the perfect trade-off, the optimization for income, not speculative growth. But let's be clear, while these can provide income in flat markets, they don't erase the risks, because in major crashes, both the value and the distribution can fall. So market risk is still going to be very real. I read somewhere that France wants to increase the number of United States retirees moving there. Every country is going to want to increase the number of retired United States citizens moving there because Americans are wasteful. So Americans make a lot of money, but Americans are wasteful. The true financial value of wealthy is like above $30,000 a year in most countries around the world. $30,000 to $36,000 a year, you're considered rich in most countries around the world. In America, you're dirt poor at $36,000 a year, because America is so expensive due to inflation, and inflation is due to the price increase from supply and demand due to the Americans being wasteful. They buy regardless of the price, and the price keeps going up, and they keep paying for the price. Instead of saying, that's too much, I'm not buying that, they will say, I'm going to get it. Even if I have to pay my rent late, they're going to go get it. And that spending habit is the reason why America is one of the quote unquote richest countries in the world, because billionaires are going to become billionaires because the bottom 95% of Americans is going to spend all of their money on the stuff that billionaires provide. 99% of the wealth in the country belongs to 1% of the people, and 99% of the people divide up the remaining 1% of wealth. But about $30,000 to $36,000 a year would work well in most countries around the world. So every country around the world is encouraging American retirees to come to their country, because those American retirees would live in upper middle class or lower upper class lifestyle, wasting a lot of money in their country, which is not necessarily wasting, but spending a lot of money in their country. That would be more money spent per US citizen than the native of the country. One, because the native of the country doesn't make that much money. Like in Taipei, a semiconductor engineer would make like $35,000 a year. A lot of money for them in Taipei. In America, they'd be making like $275,000, $300,000 a year. The difference is that in America, you'd be making that money in California, where the standard of living is $250,000 a year. So you only got like $15,000, $20,000 a year of extra money. So you're still living paycheck to paycheck. So the difference between the $300,000 a year lifestyle in America in California versus the $35,000 a year lifestyle in Taipei is absolutely nothing, because Taipei is 30% of the standard of living of America. So if the income is 10% of the standard living of America, it washes out. It's very true. Great Britain is now poorer than Mississippi. But think about that. If Great Britain is cheaper than Mississippi, and Mississippi, you can live off of $24,000 a year. If you had a $36,000 a year income, you could go to Great Britain and live better than the people in Mississippi. Notice I said going to France, you would only need 1,450 euros a month, and 3,000 US dollars a month would actually be 2,800 euros a month, which is double what they expect you to have to get long-term citizenship there. So if 1,500 a month is what you need to survive there, right? But $3,000 a month is $3,600 a month. They're basically saying that for about $17,000 or $18,000 a year, you're good in their country. because it's survival wage. But $3,000 a year, $3,600 a year, $36,000 a year would have you living comfortably in their country. So the portfolio that you'd be trying to do would be like creating an employee where that's going to work 24/7 on the United States market, and each month send you a paycheck to an American bank account, which again, I would recommend that you get an American bank account that is accessible in the country you're going to. So you drop the money into your Chase account, and then you pull it out of an ATM machine in the Chase account in that country. Or because there's a Chase branch, you might be able to pull it out of the bank in that country. Now, you can then use services like Wise to transfer money that you need, or just pull it straight out and have that $2,800. But if you want to wire the money, you can wire it into a French bank account, and the rest of the money can stay in the United States, invested in dollars, and having those dollars work for you. Now, the system is going to have several advantages, because first, you're going to be dealing with the arbitrage of an economic system. The money that you earn in high yield environments in the United States, plus having it spent in a high quality environment that costs less than the United States. Second, it's going to control your currency risk, because it doesn't eliminate it, it's just going to control it. If the euro gets stronger, $3,000 US dollars buys fewer things in euros. That's going to be real. However, because the main capital base stays in dollars, only what you need each month is going to be converted. A buffer of several months of living expenses should also be kept in euros in the French accounts to cushion against sudden swings. Now, for a huge reality check, which we were talking about taxes for a moment, the idea that this is simple for the first year is a dangerous myth. The moment that you live in France for more than 183 days in a single calendar year, you are generally considered a French tax resident, even though you've got dual citizenship at this point, because you've got citizenship in the United States. This means that you are potentially liable for French taxation on your worldwide income if you don't report it correctly. There's a US-France tax treaty that prevents double taxation, but it doesn't make things simple. Tax compliance for a United States citizen in France is complex from day one, and you will need a professional tax advisor who specializes in this. It is a non-negotiable cost of doing business. But here's going to be an unorthodox secret. This systematic approach is building a financial engine abroad that is powerful enough to fund the lifestyle of a comfortable France native. It takes a little bit of research, and it's going to take some understanding of the risks, but the reward is a life that is not just possible, but truly enjoyable. What do you make of the U.S. Treasury buying a huge amount of yen in order to stabilize Japan currency? I'm going to answer that question on Tuesday when we're talking about ways to make, save, and invest money, or Sunday when it's a free-for-all conversation, because today's discussion is 5 unusual investments that power your financial lifestyle in France. So I'm exclusively having a unilateral discussion about you going to France, living in France, investing money while living in France. So I've kind of tackled a few of your non-topic related questions. So this question you're going to have to reserve for Tuesday when we're talking about ways to make, save, and invest money, or Sunday when it is a free-for-all for questions. So the financial engine is going to be running, and it's going to be depositing roughly $2,800 into a French bank account every month. What would that actually buy for you if you were trying to buy standard living in France? Well, first you've got the housing. The power of geographic arbitrage or geo arbitrage with a budget of $1,000 a month, €1,000 a month, right? We have a $2,800 budget, and housing is going to be $1,000 of it. So the single biggest mistake people make is centering their French dream exclusively in places like Paris. Paris is magical, but it's a financial black hole. A decent one-bedroom there can easily blow the entire budget. Paris is like one of the biggest tourist traps out there. The strategy is to live outside of Paris in one of France's incredibly beautiful secondary cities, places like Lyon, Toulouse, Nantes, or Bordeaux. These are not sleepy backwater locations. They are vibrant, cultured cities where the cost of living is dramatically lower. A personal budget for housing can be set at a firm €1,000 a month. So in a city like Lyon or Toulouse, this can get something fantastic, like a proper one-bedroom or even a small two-bedroom apartment of 50 to 60 square meters in a desirable neighborhood. Now, that's an achievable target, not a guarantee, because in 2026, the rental market, you might have to hunt for that, but it is still possible. In Paris, that same apartment would be €1,800 easily. So it's an $800 increase to have the same spot in Paris. So this isn't just about saving money, it's about buying a higher quality lifestyle. It means living in a great neighborhood where it is possible to walk everywhere if you wanted to and have enough space to feel comfortable at the same time. So for the first year, a flexible rental contract called a bail mobility can be used. It's a 1 to 10 month lease designed for people in transition. This allows an individual to test drive a couple of cities before committing to one of them. One of the cities that feels like a home is going to be, once you find that, you can switch and be made a standard furnished leased apartment, meaning that you can like kind of bounce around from place to place under the same contracts, and then once you find a place that you like, you can settle down there. So that first €1,000 of the budget secures a beautiful, comfortable home in the heart of a major city in France, but outside of the tourist traps of Paris. Next, you're looking at your daily lifestyles, and very a la Francaise, €800 budget for that. This is going to be where the magic really happens, because a budget for all day-to-day expenses, groceries, utilities, phone, internet, health insurance, can be about €800 a month. Groceries around $400 is for shopping at local outdoor markets. A fridge can be filled with fresh vegetables, amazing cheese, and high-quality meats. Notice, not TV dinners, but you got to do your own cooking, but it'll help you out now. You have fresh baguettes that cost about €1. Cooking most meals become a pleasure, not a chore, especially since you don't have to work, right? Remember, we said you're going to this country living off of investment portfolios where you make no money from earning an income from selling or buying or providing any kind of service. You're just getting paid to exist. Trust, brokerage accounts, stuff, pensions, stuff to that effect. So you got a lot of time to cook. It takes you 3 hours to cook. Take 3 hours. That's 3 hours out of the day. If you cook twice a day, that's 6 hours out of your 24 hours. So you got 18 hours to wander around and find something to do. Now the utilities around €150, and that's going to cover electricity, water, heat, internet, and mobile is about €50. Where France has a super competitive telecom market, and this gets high-speed fiber internet and a mobile plan with tons of data. They said the French don't like TV dinners. Most people who have a good wife don't like TV dinners either. But when you're dating a woman that isn't a good wife, or if you're married to a woman that is a terrible girlfriend, you're going to be on TV dinners. Because whether or not she's got a job, if she's a good wife, you are getting home cooked meals. and she's packing your lunch for work so that you can bring your home cooked meals to work and eat on the job. If you're not getting that, you need to start talking to your partner about why she's not doing her part. And for any women that disagree, please explain to me why that is. All right. Make sure that y'all like, subscribe, and mash those reaction buttons while we're here. Health insurance is going to be about 60 euros, and you got to remember when you're going anywhere in the world outside of the United States, you want to make sure that you have international health insurance, or at least private health insurance from the country that you're going to, so that you have health coverages, because your health insurance policies in the United States may not carry over to another country. I would encourage individuals who plan on traveling the world to have a standard international policy that works in the United States as well, so that you do not have to transfer over insurance policies or pay for two insurance policies just to be in a different country. For the VLSTS visa, you must have private health insurance of some kind, and a comprehensive plan for a healthy individual can be found for around 60 to 100 euros a month. Though prices is going to vary, it is often possible to apply and get a French public health system as well, which is PUMA, after 3 months of stable residency, not 1 year. But it is not guaranteed for visitors or the visitor visa holders, and can be complicated processes to get approved of. So it shouldn't be counted on as an automatic thing. So for individual initial periods, a private plan provides peace of mind, and sometimes it's one of the qualifications of getting a residency in another country. Trader says, I don't get it. Some young women are proud of the fact that they cannot cook any fresh foods. I don't get it either. It's a long-standing battle that we have in social media, where we argue back and forth the value of the genders, and women will forever agree that a man's value is going to be based on his ability to protect and provide, but women will disagree that her value comes from certain characteristics and traits that women don't want to perform. And that actually is one of the issues with the Western culture, where men must accept what a woman is willing to do, not what she should do. But men must perform the way society expects for men to perform, or the man is not considered valuable, which takes all responsibility and accountability from women and puts all the responsibility and accountability on the men. And it is very rarely a satisfactory relationship, but we are piggybacking this imbalance with the observation of happy wife, happy life, not happy husband. And now then you find yourself in a position where only one person out of the relationship is truly satisfied, and the other person is content because there's less conflict at the moment. And that contentment is what leads to affairs. And that's one of the reasons why the standard relationship lasts 1 year, 5 months, 6 days, because the relationship does not have the backing of both parties. If it had the backing of both parties, then the wife would be doing things to benefit the husband, instead of just the husband doing things to benefit for the wife, and the wife is sleeping with the husband, because that's not a benefit. It benefits both people, but that's not specifically an exclusive benefit, because the husband sleeping with the wife benefits the husband, but the wife sleeping with the husband benefits the wife. So it washes itself out. And when you take the sex out of the equation, what you have is the stability from the man and nothing from the woman, and that's not realistic. Because if the roles were reversed, women would object to it. This individual says, honestly, I'd be afraid of a woman poisoning my food because she fell out of love, met some Chad online and wanted all my stuff. Happens every day. Well, if you dating a person for the right reasons, then you should be aware that this person actually wants to be with you and is willing to do what needs to be done to provide you with the satisfaction that you need. If you're standing on those girlfriend contracts that we talked about on the show, piggybacking them with adding them as addendums to your prenuptial agreements, where she would not be entitled to any of your assets unless it can be undeniably proven that you died of old age. You know, so not a car crash where the brakes broke, not a natural, not an accident where you fell off of a ladder, not a poisoning, not an overdose of medication, not a suicide or a homicide. That it was specifically old age, not a heart attack, not a stroke, just, you know, he was old. She gets nothing. If you have those very, very complicatedly structured prenuptial agreements, she would be obligated to wait until you die before she gets your assets. And you would also have to make sure that somebody other than her would be the power of attorney over your assets when you can't perform, so that she doesn't clean out your bank accounts while you're alive, so that by the time you pass, there's nothing there. Which is why you would put a lot of your stuff in a trust and have a third-party trustee handle your money. So if she's only there for your money, you made a bad choice in a partner. And if she's only there for your money, you're probably only got her there because she's attractive and you want to sleep with her on a regular basis. So you kind of put yourself in that situation. So I wouldn't say that Western women are not trustable because they might put something in your food. I strongly believe that if you collect the right partner, then that partner would be beneficial to you, and then you wouldn't have that to worry about. This guy says he has a girl almost wifed up, literally cooked something horrible just so that you wouldn't want her to cook. Oh, yeah. Pure resentment. Okay, so here's the thing. This is a psychological and emotional abusive situation that happens all over the place. We're going to get back to the main topic of investing in Finland real quick, but I want to touch base on this. Men and women alike do this exact behavior. What happens is that when somebody doesn't want to do something, they will make excuses. I can't, I don't know how, I'm injured, or they'll do it so bad, or they'll take so long that you get frustrated with their performance and insist that you'll do it yourself so that they can be free from doing it. At the end of the day, she will learn how to cook or she will not live here. She will learn how to cook good or she will not live here. She will become a chef, going to chef school before she lives here. Because if she is not going to perform the way I need her to perform, she cannot be here. That is a requirement from you. So if she cooks bad, I'm not going to eat it. You're not going to waste the food, but you are going to learn how to cook right. If this becomes an ongoing problem where she doesn't want to cook and she's not going to cook well when she does cook, that's okay. You can go. I'll replace you with a woman that can cook well. Because when we start thinking about after 40 years old, they're not reproducing children more often than not. If you don't already have kids with them, you're not likely to get kids with them when they're in their 40s and 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. Right now we have fintech, we have other technologies, AI bots that are personal assistants and everything to that magnitude. So we're in a position right now where we have all of the stuff that women used to do that made them valuable in a relationship, like that. Special shout out to OG Kids, like balancing the budget, keeping the house organized, keeping appointments scheduled, keeping vehicles and other such services done while the husband was at work during the day, and then being there for the husband at night. All of that stuff that used to make women valuable that wasn't being barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen, women don't want to do that. They expect the man to have everything organized, everything structured, and everything covered, which means that those are other characteristics that would make a valuable woman that she's not there. So she's not balancing the budget and make money for us in a relationship. She shouldn't be touching the money. And if she's not organizing things, then she shouldn't be touching anything. And if she's not cooking stuff where I've got to hire somebody to come and cook for us, then why not hire a woman from the Philippines and pay her $800 a month to cook for me and get her citizenship on a wife visa, where I could pay her family $1,000 a month for her to stay here and do for me what an American woman wouldn't do. And honest to God, like people don't think about this. They don't think about this, but the value in a relationship, because a woman wants a successful man, but if you're not going to put any, if you're not going to put any effort into it, how are you going to get one? You know, if you want to work for a successful business, you got to put effort into the business being successful. You know, if you want a nice car, you've got to put effort into getting a nice car. They're not just going to give you a nice car. You have to pay for that nice car. So you have to invest in having a nice car. You have to invest in having a nice man. And if you're investing in having a nice man, that means you have to find a man with potential, not find a man that has assets. And then you have to put effort into that man so that that man's potential turns into assets. That's how you become entitled to the assets. But if you just show up to a dude that's already got stuff, if you didn't do anything to earn it, you don't deserve it. And if you don't deserve it, then you don't have a place here unless you're going to find a way to cooperate with this system. Because nobody shows up to their job and tells their boss what to do. So you're not walking into this relationship telling the estate owner what to do. You're either going to get in line or you're going to get gone. A guy says, I was thinking of marrying a chef, lock in 15 kids with the chef, bring home the bacon, family business, put them kids to work. That would be a fantastic way to go because y'all can start up a restaurant together. You know, she cooks, you wait tables, the kids can clean up. You put the kids on salary, that's their allowance. You teach them how to invest. You can get them shares in the family business. Y'all can turn it into a chain. Each child has their own restaurant. Now you got 4 restaurants. Y'all can retire off that stuff. That's a fantastic way to go. But if your wife don't know how to cook, that's the first problem. That's the first problem in that idea, is that your wife don't know how to contribute to the relationship. Now, back to the main topic. Transportation is going to be one of those things you're going to be dealing with in France. It's $70, €70, living in central France means walking almost everywhere else, unless you're physically disabled and you can't do it. Then you will be paying a little extra for cabs and private drivers. So for long distances, the public transportation is going to be amazing. Monthly passes in most of the city, it's going to be around $70 for the month. So if you're walking everywhere and then using a universal pass, you're only spending like $70 a month to travel. Not owning a car is going to be a massive savings there. But I mean, if you wanted to grab a personal cab, you might up that budget, maybe another 20 to 50 euros a month, depending on how much you travel. Now, household and miscellaneous stuff would be another $70, where all of the little things that you want to cover, toiletries and everything to that effect, you have all that stuff locked in. All inside of an $800 a month budget that provides a very high standard of daily living. Now, the key is leaning into the local culture. It's cheaper and more enjoyable to shop at the market and use public transportation than it is to buy imported goods and have private drivers. Then we want to talk about the extra stuff. What's the system going to buy with the other $1,000, right? Because the most important part, after the house is 1,000 euros and the daily lifestyle is 800 euros, you still have 1,000 euros left over out of your 2,800 euro budget. This is going to be the profit from the system. And this is going to be the money that turns survival into thriving. Now you've got dining out and social life for an extra 300 euros. And this is going to allow for going out to eat, grabbing coffee with friends, and enjoying a glass of wine at a terrace bar without worry. It means being able to say yes to social invitations. Because in some countries, when you're invited to go somewhere, you're invited to accompany them at your own expense. In America, it's culturally expected when you invite someone that you pay for them. Even in wealthy circles, if you're invited somewhere, the person who invited you should cover for you. You can just cover everybody at the table at the time, but you want to make sure that you're not debating with them over the check. If you got it, then get it. If you don't think you got it, don't touch it. Don't put your wallet where your credit cards can't cover. What mom used to say back in the day, don't write a check that your ass can't cash. That's a fundamental basis that everybody needs to pay attention to. Now, travel and exploration, another 300 euros. And this is going to be for weekend trips every single month. You can hop on a speed trade and go to the province or even another country in a few hours. That's like 600 euros right there out of the 1,000. You have hobbies and culture, another 150 euros. Gym memberships, language classes, because learning the local language is important in any country that you go to. If you don't know the language before you go, learning it once you get there shows that you value the lifestyle, and it gives you a lot more advantages with the locals where they will aid you not only in the language, but in doing business and getting around. Museums and tickets and other such things, books and concerts, all of that stuff can be covered under hobbies and culture. So the budget for becoming a more interesting person becomes more beneficial to you the longer you stay out there. Reinvestments and long-term savings could be another 250 euros, and this is going to be the key to the whole platform. So the full 2,800 euros is never spent. A portion of the profit every month gets sent right back to your investment portfolio to be reinvested. Or if you wanted to start investing locally, you could invest locally and then potentially build you two sources of income where you could likely be benefiting from, you'd have to deal with local taxation and all this other stuff, but you would benefit from having multiple facets of revenue, which allows to aid you in your extended stay. It also could be utilized as an emergency fund in case something does happen where you might have to get medevac or something like that, or an emergency flight back home, or whatever the case may be, because you have extra capital lying around, you have it to utilize. This is going to be one of those pay yourself first methods. It ensures that the final engine continues to grow, creating a buffer against inflation and currency swings. It is the mechanism that ensures that the system is not just sustainable, but gets stronger over time. So the 2,800 a month euros isn't a restrictive budget. It is an engineered system that provides a beautiful home, a high quality daily life, the freedom to travel, and a mechanism for building long-term wealth. Now, you got to be real. How do you tell me to? Okay, I got you. I got a pop-up that says, "Hey, you need to update your software." I was trying to do that before the show. Talk about some estimated 20 minutes to an hour. It can wait until after the podcast goes off. The system isn't going to be a flawless utopia. You guys got to understand this. It is going to be a calculated strategy with real risks, and it's going to require certain mindsets. The first risk you're going to have to deal with any international budget is going to be current fluctuations. And this is going to be the most obvious one, because even if you brought United States cash to another country, in order for you to buy certain things in certain countries, you're going to have to pay for the currency exchange rate, or you're going to have to allow them to overcharge you to take your US dollar. Because something that might cost 2 euros and you only got $5, they might charge you $4 instead of charging you 2 euros, right? Which might ultimately mean that you pay too much for that item. So the income in United States dollars and expenses in euros is going to be a change. It's going to be very expensive to have that change. So if the dollar weakens, the budget would end up shrinking. A euro cash buffer helps absorb this. So ultimately, you could take that 280 euros worth of capital, turn it into actual euros, and then hold it, whether you hold it in cash in a safe at your house or whatever the case may be. Having the actual euros in euros at your house in that situation is more effective for a small emergency fund than leaving it in US dollars and then taking the risk on the exchange rate and then not having enough to cover your standard of living 1 month. And reinvesting is going to help. That's going to help your income grow over a long period of time, but it's also going to have a risk that must be watched constantly, because if the stock market shifts, like we've seen a lot of the REITs do cuts this month, we're still dealing with 20% return on investment, but we're dealing with 20% return on investment with a smaller dividend payout. Second is market volatility. The income comes from investments, and markets go down like they're going down right now. So this is going to be why a significant cash emergency fund, 12 to 18 months of living expenses, is completely separate from investments. It is mandatory before even starting to have something like this in place. So even if you send the money over in small increments and build it up, if you're planning on being there for 12 to 18 months, but let's say you're going to be there for more than 6 months, but less than a year. Or let's say, to prevent from being a tax citizen in France, you might want to be in France for like 150 days, or let's say 120 days, let's say 3 months, right? So one season in France. Your standard of living in France, you should have enough capital of emergency funds to cover 6 months worth of living in France, even though you're going to be there for 3 months. Why is that? Because unexpected expenses could occur. Like, for example, when I talked to you guys about living in Seoul in South Korea, they wanted you to give like $8,500 up front to lease an apartment, and then you're going to be paying the $1,100 a month to stay there. Well, the $1,100 a month is cheap on paper, but if I got to give you $8,000 up front and I was planning on being there for 3 months, then that means I got to have like $11,000 just for the rent. Now, if I didn't know that and I did not bring that, then I would not have that, and then I would be stuck in hotels. And if some of that is refundable, then when I check out, I can get back some of that money, because if I'm providing it in a security deposit and it's going to be released upon my departure, then I can get back that $8,000 or at least $3,000 or $4,000 of that money on my way out. Which, it's not a loss if it's held in return. It's like a short-term interest-free loan to the landlord, but it's the principle of the fact that if I don't have it to put up to leverage my stay, I don't have the ability to stay in a cheaper place. Now, this is the doomsday funds that you have to build and either take with you or hold on to when you're going somewhere else. It's going to allow for riding out a crash situation without panic selling at the bottom. So if things go sideways, if you've got extra money, you can cover the inconveniences of needing extra money. Let's say you're doing something somewhere and you just don't have it in you to walk the distance. Paying extra money for somebody to drive you might not have been in your budget. If you had the extra money sitting there, you don't have to worry about it now. You can just get a cab. You said with hotels, you need one every 3 days if you have a car. No. If you live in America and you own your own car and you want to travel the country and you want to only check into a hotel like one night every few days to take a shower, that could be a thing. If you're living in France as an American citizen, you don't have a car. So the logic behind that is flawed, because the money it would take for you to buy in or rent a car to live out of your car is equivalent to you not having a car and just renting out a hotel room or renting out an apartment complex. It's cheaper to have an apartment complex for the month and pay by the month than it is for an Airbnb or a bed and breakfast or a hotel stay. So you have a scavenger mindset, Stephen. Your mindset is always to try to find a way to live off of the land more often than the conveniences of a stable, comfortable life. You have to break that mindset, because your retirement is going to be fundamentally based off of your lack of ability to put up with that bullshit. I'm just gonna tell you right now. Think about your father's condition. There's certain stuff that he's not going to get down with because he just doesn't have it in him to do it, right? When you get to his age, you're not going to be capable of doing a lot of the things that you're capable of doing now at 36. Yes, now you can sleep in a trunk with the hood up just to save money. Even if your windows don't roll down in a car, you can just sleep in a trunk. If you got a Toyota with a hatchback, you can lift the back up and lay in the bed, lay the seats down, and turn that to a whole mattress, like a Winnebago, and live out the back of your car in America. But the fact that you're flying to another country, you don't already have a car. Yeah, you could bring a backpack full of tents and other such camping equipment and go sleep in the woods. But you got to look at certain countries have certain laws that don't allow camping. Then, if you call yourself trying to rough it in a country where the laws prohibit you to rough it, you might be breaking laws trying to save money, which might cause you to get fined and cause you to spend more money trying to rough it, instead of changing your mentality and saying, hey, instead of me deliberately doing without just to save a few extra pennies, why not make enough money to not have to do without? Why not bring enough money to not have to do without? Why not bring enough money to do a little extra, to do some things I wasn't planning on doing? The purpose of a vacation is to change from the scavenger mentality, at least for a brief while. And the purpose of geo arbitrage is to live in a cheaper economy so that your money goes longer, so that you can have more stuff for the same income that you were struggling with in your home country. So if you're struggling in America, why go to a country that's cheaper than America and struggle there? If your $40,000 a year in America isn't enough, why go to a country where $20,000 a year is enough, but you're going to try your best to live on $15,000 a year? Why provide yourself with the discomfort and anxiety and stress of deliberately not having enough? I can't provide you enough therapy to get through that, Stephen, but you have to change the mentality from. So I'm not saying get you a 5-star hotel with a penthouse suite at the top with a pool and, chauffeurs and caterers and, bus boys and doormen and all of this other stuff. I'm not saying, live the life of a celebrity. What I'm saying is you don't have to live the life of poverty when you make 2 times the standard income. They expect you to have $1,500 a month. You have $3,000 a month. Why are you doing without? Why are you living out of the trunk of a car? For an extra $1,000 a month, you might actually be able to buy a property in some countries and just pay the mortgage. One of the other issues you're going to have that's going to be a hurdle that you have to recognize is going to be the bureaucratic hurdles. Every country has them. France is going to be famous for its paperwork, and it's not going to be a myth. Renewing the visa each year requires a mountain of documents. You're probably going to have to start doing it significantly early. You're going to need to be organized, and you're going to need to be patient. And as mentioned before, the tax situation is going to be very complex, and it's going to require professional help from the first day you get started with it. Because if you do things wrong, you might find yourself audited in 2 countries. You might find yourself taxed in 2 countries, which would hurt your bottom line, right? So let's talk about the social dynamics for expats. Many people from Anglo countries arrive with the idea that financial success makes you a desirable partner. In France, that model doesn't really apply. French society is deeply egalitarian, which not favorable for the Western man because we're looking for a more traditional woman. A person's independence, career, and intellect are highly valued. Showing off wealth can be seen as tacky and insecure. I say that a lot in the Western culture, but I mean, it attracts the low value women. That's why the moderate level men do it, because they want to be perceived as attractive. You're not attractive. Your wealth is attractive. And that even if it's not a lot, if it's more than what she had access to, at the end of the day, she's attracted to what she can get from you, not attracted to you. So if you're able to establish a strong bond with a person without spending $1, you're more likely to have this person here for you if she doesn't know what you have in the background than what it would be if she's riding in your Benz or your Bentley or your G-Wagon and living in your 2-story mansion with the gated community with the waterfall and all this other stuff, horseshoe driveway. She's there for the stuff, right? But if you're showing up in a 1980 something, 2-tone because the doors got replaced, rust at the bottom, headlights with duct tape on them, and she riding with, she might be there for you, right? Showing off wealth is tacky and very insecure. Now, what is going to be attractive? Stability, being able to take care of your bills and not have to beg, borrow, rob, or steal, right? Having culture, which is why learning the native language and learning the native cultures is very important. And emotional maturity, which means not acting and reacting impulsively to the things that happen around you. So this strategy, ironically, is going to align perfectly with what we're doing. On paper, the income is going to be modest, but it is not the amount that matters. It is the stability of what you've got going on. The fact of having a legal visa and a clear financial plan that doesn't rely on a tricky French job market shows responsibility and a well-managed life. And that's far more appealing than a high flyer living on stress and credit. The biggest asset that you can have, believe it or not, is going to be the language. The willingness to learn French in France or whatever the native language is in another country is a direct signal of respect for their culture. You can get by with English in a lot of tourist spots in a lot of countries around the world, but the real life or real relationships that you're trying to have cannot be built without the language, the local language. There will be a language barrier. If you don't get over that language barrier yourself, you will have some breakdowns in communication. And when you start traveling outside of the tourist areas to meet the family, the elders are going to speak native. They're not always going to have that English under their belt. So us in our 30s and 40s are meeting the elders. They're going to be in their 60s and 70s. They're not speaking a lick of English. And a lot of family-oriented cultures, if the elders disapprove of you, your relationship won't survive. In Western culture, we don't have enough value in ourselves, much less our family, much less our heritage, in order to respect the opinions of the elders. Therefore, we end up in bad relationships when we were warned about that person. However, that means that you don't have to impress the elders in Western culture. But in other cultures, you have to impress the elders. So if you're going in there unchanged, they may decide that you're not good enough. It's going to be the key to unlocking everything is being culturally adapted and involved in the language. Any person thinking of moving should start learning French yesterday, long before you go. Social success will be directly proportional to your fluency. Ultimately, the unorthodox approach is not just financial, it's also going to be social. It's about presenting yourself not as a rich foreigner, but as a stable, cultured individual who has chosen France for quality of life, whether it be temporary or permanent. It's about showing your value is in your character and a commitment to build a genuine life there with them, which is going to be a valuable system that aligns perfectly with modern French culture. So we come back to the beginning. The dream of life in France, the seemingly impossible gap between fantasy and the financial reality. The path outlined isn't easy. It requires more planning and a great appetite for calculated risks that just hoarding cash in a savings account isn't going to cover. It demands that you become an active manager of your own financial life. But the rewards are going to be immense. By rejecting the fortress mentality and building a financial engine, your relationship with money transforms from one of fear to one of empowerment. The core message of this guide is not to copy the exact investments, it's to adopt the mindsets. It is to challenge the assumptions that a lot of times are going to hold you back. It's about realizing that living on a $3,000 a month income in France is not about being cheap, but about being smart. Because yeah, you could go there with $6,000 a month, but if you could do it with 1,500, what are you doing with the other five? What are you doing with the other 4,000? It's about the strategic choice to live in places like Lyon instead of places like Paris. It's about the joy of shopping at a local market instead of buying imported stuff. It's about pairing a modest, deeply enjoyable life with a financial strategy that works tirelessly in the background. Now, I also believe that you should never go to another country and order or experience anything that is directly existing in your own country. So going to Paris, France to get a McDonald's burger is the worst idea to have. You go to France and anything that looks American, you walk away from. Because if I can get that in America, I didn't come to France to have American. I came to France to experience France. So everything that I touch, everything that I go to, everything I experience should not be accessible from America. Right? And what I mean is that I'm not talking about, oh, well, I don't want to buy anything that was imported to America from France. What I mean is that I'm not trying to go to American style anything because I'm going to France to experience France style everything. So there's no reason for me to stick with familiarity when I could have spent more time learning and experiencing something new. But it's going to be about pairing your modesty and having deeply enjoyable lives with financial strategies that work tirelessly in the background so that you don't have to stress about where things are and where things will be. Because I hate to say, in Paris, I would have to find stuff I like. Well, technically, you can start looking it up now. If you wanted to go to Paris, what's in Paris? I know that America has pizzas, but Paris has a different kind of pizza. But you're not going to Paris to have Domino's. I know that Paris has different types of food. It's not gonna be fried chicken wings, but you know, there's pastas, there's all kinds of stuff over there. They have a lot of pastries there, bagels, muffins, baguettes. You know, they got a lot of pastries there. But a lot of the best chefs in five-star restaurants come from places like Paris, France. So most restaurants that have something other than finger foods that should require a decent knife, fork, salad fork, soup spoon type of meal might provide you with a whole nother area of try something new. Mama always said, don't knock it till you try it. So you got to try everything at least once. So when it comes down to going to buy stuff at restaurants, the goal would be to order something I've never seen before, order something I've never tasted before, and always try something new. Now, the second time I go to that restaurant, I'm going to buy the things I like from the first time I came to the restaurant. The first time I come to the restaurant, I'm only going to order things that I've never had at another restaurant. I'm not going to order what's offered at this restaurant that's offered at another restaurant back in the States. I mean, unless it's like, you know, steak and pasta that's like, it's an Olive Garden thing where Olive Garden kind of copied the Italian style. I'm going to get the original style in Italy. I can compare the difference between the two. I might do something like that, but I'm not going to go to an Olive Garden in France because there's an Olive Garden in America. I'll go to whatever the name, whatever the French name is of whatever the three-star restaurant is in France, and then see what their food is like there. You can expand your palate by trying new things, even here in America. Just like when I gave you the advice of practicing negotiating the bill with the restaurant before you get started. You know, if you go into different restaurants, you're looking at the menu, you're determining whether or not they have a gratuity fixed into the bill, all this other stuff. You're looking at the menu, you know what's on the menu before you get to the restaurant. So you don't have to sit down and then look at the menu and decide what's there. You look at the menu, you know what's there, and that's why you're going to that restaurant. So when you sit down, you should already know what you want. I saw this, whatever, 5-pound plate of spaghetti and meatballs that I wanted to try. So that's why I'm going to that restaurant. So when you go to the restaurant, the only thing you're looking at on the menu is what do they call it on their menu, so that you can ask for that from the server, right? So you can just go to different places and try different things here in America and start expanding your palate beyond chicken wings. And there's nothing wrong with chicken wings. I love chicken wings, but I also love a plethora of other things. There's very few food items that I won't eat at least once, right? Which gives you a lot of options. The dream of living in France is closer than a lot of people might think. It doesn't require you to win the lottery in order to go. It requires you to change your perspectives. It requires you to have the courage to ignore the conventional wisdom and to forge an unorthodox path, the new modern path. So, if you guys are willing to think differently about money and careers, and you want to truly know what it means to live a rich lifestyle on a more affordable budget, you might just find that your French story is something that you've probably been waiting to start writing. And for those of you that are not in membership, a lot of the information that I have on this has already been released into the membership. So you guys can take a look at that, do your research and see what's going on, and then cross-reference it. And if you guys have any questions, make sure that you throw in the comment section. What's the one thing that you were curious about out of everything that you had asked in the show tonight? What is one of the things that you'd like for me to follow up on with you guys after the show that could benefit your ability to make decisions towards a trip like that? And can you cross-reference the information that I gave you from France into other countries and other places? Because France is not the only country that has a visa that is exclusive to retirement and investments. You just got to broaden your horizons and think about other things and think about outside of the box. It's never an I can't. It's going to be a they won't let me. And as long as they aren't trying to stop you, you can do whatever it is in the world that you want to do. You just have to find out the right rules and regulations to accomplish it. As long as you're in compliance, you're free to do what you want. Some countries are stricter than others. You just got to see which ones you want to go to, what you want to put up with, and how you want to deal with it. Now, that's all I got for you guys for tonight. We got a lot of more stuff coming up for the rest of the week. You're gonna see. He said, "I will eat anything but pork." Well, I don't think France does a lot of pork. You're gonna have probably beef and maybe fish, and probably some chicken in places like France. Probably lamb, sheep, stuff like that. I don't think they have deer out there, but I don't see pork being the #1 thing sold in France. But we can do some research and verify. If you're concerned about pork on the menu, you can always choose to go visit a country that worships pork, so that you don't have to worry about it being sold in any of the food, because it's against their religion, it's against their culture. That actually makes it easier for you to pick whatever you want, because there's no pork in anything. That can actually be a fundamental decision maker as to which country you start going to when you start traveling to other countries. Which countries don't like pork? Which countries don't have pork accessible to them? Because not every country has pigs. Just because we got them in America doesn't mean everybody's got them. So with that being said, we're going to start off by saying, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. Ladies, please make it make sense. Fellas, I give you this information to make you guys higher value men, not just by increasing your financial life, but also by improving your personal decision-making skills. Ladies, while this is a male-driven podcast from a male's perspective, you too can make yourselves higher value women by finding things in your life that are inside of your control and proactively changing those things, improving your standard of living, and then navigating around the things that are outside of your control. Then, ladies, if you follow that 20 and 30-year plan, figuring out where you want to be at in 20 or 30 years, reverse engineering that to what you got to do today so that you can accomplish those goals, then you can find yourself being able to steadfast with that while keeping your eyes and ears open for the potential suitors with the right personality, characteristics, drive, ambition, dedication, motivation, admiration, and integrity to accomplish his own goals, which you then can see if his goals mesh well with your goals. And if you guys both have the same long-term satisfaction goals or similar long-term satisfaction goals instead of short-term gratification goals, you both can accomplish each other's goals together, right? And I tell you guys on a regular basis that two people can make it to $1 million faster than one. So all it takes is for you to find the right person with the right financial values, and you guys will be headed off in the right direction. So I'm going to start off by giving a special shout out to Stephen, Michael, OG, Kicks, Unk, Andy, FX Trader, and Joe Jack. I really appreciate you guys for coming to tonight's show. I want to thank you for coming to this and that. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I will see you guys tomorrow night.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.